top place. They have been second once. Matthew Reynal is our referee this evening. He'll be accompanied by Frédéric Chazal, Jonathan Gasnier. The TMO is Julien Castagnède, great name in French rugby. Kick-off. Toulon in their all-black catching. David Rivens trying to keep that ball going for Marvin Jaminet with the catch. Kicked 5 conversions against Perpignan last weekend, the most by a Toulon player in a top 14 match since Louis Carbonel against Stade Francais back in 2021.
Well, first stoppage in play, and first question from me, Angus. That ball was taken from, even though it was the kick-off, I thought a maul forming immediately from a kick receipt meant that you didn't have to get the ball out. Anyway, no one seems to be complaining in the stand. Well, that's Racing anyway, they benefit from it. But there's Jaminet coming in, first touch of the ball, but that maul was created immediately from the kick. I would have thought that's too long ball, but anyway, golden opportunity at home for Racing.
Camille Chat, the man with no neck, according to Sia Khaleesi, who unfortunately is not going to be around for the next month or so after having an operation on his finger of his right hand on Tuesday, just to make the mood in Racing sink a little bit deeper still after those 5 straight defeats. The main problem with those 5 defeats is the 3 they suffered here. Losing at home is not acceptable in France, and to do it 3 times in a row, well, that is a major crisis. Diallo feeds it out. Being tried to held up by Mathias Halago, who is in for the giant Brian Alanoese this weekend. It means that David Rivens has switched sides in the second row. Plenty of attack. Toulon this week talking about how they're well aware of the threat, particularly from tries from Racing. Only Toulouse have scored more than them, and there's a chance here straight away. Wame Netuvi almost managing to get a gap, but they're building up momentum nicely. Forward comes the captain, Henri Chauvency, reliable as ever. Hassan Collinger, loose head prop, feeds it back into the ever dynamic Ibrahim Diallo, French international, one of number in this Racing side that isn't playing for France this time. That's a great kick across and an immediate try. Can you believe that? And it's Boudon, the open side flanker on the wing, who comes up with a try 2 minutes into the game, and you couldn't ask for a better start just when we were talking about their threat from tries.
Well, that's absolutely exhilarating, Angus. They rolled the dice a little bit here. Diallo almost getting stripped, not only of the ball, but of his clothes. And the little kick, the speculator there from Tedder, back over to the blind side where Boudon was waiting, and the finish was absolutely spectacular. There it goes there. I thought it had gone too far, but it hadn't in the end. And beautiful skills just to catch that ball and immediately place it quite delicately on the ground before he went over into the touchline.
I hesitated because I assumed that that was going to be Henri Chauvency racing down there, and then suddenly you realise it's a back row forward who's on the end of it. Tristan Tedder misses it rather badly. No Antoine Gibert tonight. No Finn Russell, of course, who went off to Bath and was playing with Ben White, the Toulon scrum half, in the defeat against Italy. There's no scrum half on the bench for Racing tonight. They are a bit short when it comes to half-backs in general. Nolan Le Garrec had a spectacular starting debut for France earlier today. Was man of the match, the Racing scrum half. Came up with an audacious backwards pass, 50 metres across the pitch. That was one of those where if it hadn't worked out, he'd have looked pretty foolish, but it was straight into the arms of his teammate.
Yes, Ramos did very well to drift onto that ball and take that.
Made him look very good, didn't he?
This was not a bad exit for Racing, except for the fact that they had thrown the ball back into the 22. Therefore, they can't take the line out, or they can't go up to the line out even though it was a great kick from Tedder. Perhaps a lack of communication there, a lack of an awareness among the team that they had taken that ball back in.
And not a great start for the Racing fly half. Taken nicely, though, by Halagu, the 22-year-old Toulon lock forward. Donglo recycles into the path of Halagu again. Coming up to the last of his 8-year contract with Toulon. He signed an extension, though, to take him to an extra year to 2025. Beka Gigashvili, the Georgian international prop, one of the powerhouses of French rugby. Be interesting to see if we see him at playing for Georgia in the final of the Rugby Europe Championship at the Stade Jean-Bouin, just down the road from here, next weekend. Bruce DeVoe. No way through, and no advantage played. It will be a turnover ball because of the knock-on.
Some good go forward from Toulon, though. They'll be encouraged by that. Tough start coming up here and conceding a try straight away. By contrast for Racing, a fantastic start for them, because one thing they haven't been able to do lately is put the points on when they have had periods of dominance in the game. They've shown some really good enterprise. They've got a good spirit, a good attacking attitude. They've got some good skills. There's just inevitably been a mistake which has tripped them up. And so to get those 5 points on the board early will be a real confidence booster for them. And also to exit situations like this where Toulon did look good for a few phases there.
Well, away from home, Toulon have only won once away, having been one of the strongest teams at home. One defeat at home against Bordeaux-Bègles back at the beginning of February. That's spun the wrong way. Not the best delivery there from Clovis Labai, and it's resulted in turnover ball for Toulon. Scrabbling around there is Facundo Issa trying to get it back out, and he manages the Argentine international. Donglo, that's a beautiful take by Setariki Tuasuvu. Oof. Big hit. Donglo has it, though. Into Halagahu, who's seeing a lot of the ball early on here up to the gain line. Donglo looking around. Feeds it into the hooker, Teddy Bobigny, the captain tonight, with Charles Olivant away with the French national team. One of those heroes that beat the Welsh, and Donglo has broken through. There was, though, a knock-on. It looked too good to be true, and it was.
Yeah, those early forays from Toulon did maybe show that Racing. Here's the scrum again. This shows you why it's so important with an 8-man shove for the putting in of the ball to be essentially under the hooker's feet. When they had to actually try and hook the ball, then Racing, they one man down because one's trying to hook, he's not pushing. 7 against 8, and they got shunted off the ball. There's that inside pass. Racing on defence did look a little bit vulnerable on those first few plays that Toulon attacked. Maybe if they start bouncing Donglo, the halfback, out and getting the blindside winger running inside him, they might have identified that. They certainly tried to exploit that space then, but were unable to execute. Henri Chavancy, the veteran, captain of Racing, he's been around a long time, long enough to have played with some of this broadcast team, Angus. I'm embarrassed for him to say that.
Better from Racing, out by Labai. Max Spring is going to kick that away. He played scrum half last week. It's just to show you how desperate they were for half-backs. He's gone back out to full-back this time around, though.
He'll probably get called upon again tonight, to be honest. I mean, when you've got Saili, Arundel and Imhoff, you're not going to put any of them in at halfback, but you've got plenty of talent there on the bench to use.
Yeah, so I said scrum half, meant fly half. Tristan Tedder coming back in today, though, helps. They had a mixture of losing players to international rugby, injuries, and it left them very threadbare. Maybe they'll be thinking about bringing in a few extras for next season to make sure that kind of thing doesn't happen again. Donglo, nice little ball out to Isuvu. Wasn't read, though. Toulon have it, but a lot further back. Donglo. 22-year-old in for Ben White. Scotland losing to Italy, who had Paolo Garbisi playing, and Italy have got quite a number of French top 14 players playing for them. And of course they are now coached by the former Stade Francais coach Gonzalo Quesada, who seems to really be getting them into a very competitive frame of mind at the moment.
Yeah, superb win from Italy yesterday as we watch Toulon starting to probe around that ruck area from Racing, and the penalty, it's a long shot here for Jaminet, probably 55, 56 metres on the angle. But yeah, Italy, based on a really strong defensive game, but also some very, very nice touches. And Menoncello was particularly strong in the number 12 jersey. Lewis Liner making his debut for Italy, son of Michael Liner, of course, and brother of Tom, who had a good win himself with the Reds over the Chiefs in Super Rugby. So it's all happening in the world of rugby this weekend.
Well, Jaminet had one of his banner days last weekend from the kicking tee. How's he feeling 7 days later? This will be quite a hit if he manages to get this over. Well, it's got a chance. Oh, it's excellent. That is absolutely fantastic from Melvin Jaminet. Something of a point to prove, really, not being in the French setup now, particularly when you consider that they are losing a couple of half-backs, and he'll think that he maybe could have played with, particularly with Thomas Ramos moving forward to the fly-half position. So just making sure that he gives Fabien Galtier a little bit of a nudge. Danny Priso sitting down there with his water bottle. No doubt we'll see him later on in the second half. Another player who would think maybe he's got a chance of being in the French setup. Cameron Woki, incidentally, speaking of released French internationals, on the bench as well. Probably the biggest surprise release from the French national side last week. And so Hervé clears it up towards half-time, halfway.
You said Jaminet might be giving Fabien Galtier a nudge. If he gives it anything a nudge like he just did, he'll kill him. That was not effortless, but it was smooth and sailed through the post from 55 metres. And what that does is that makes Racing really think about infringing. It pushes their limit a lot further out.
Lebaille feeds it out into the path of his captain, Chavancy. 35 years old now, the centre in for Francis Sailly, who's on the bench this evening. That's given away, though. Villiers, ball forward. There's nobody really near enough, and that probably will go. No, it won't go dead, or will it? Wolf Tedder making sure. Well, it was good judgment in the end. Carmen Villiers, I think he thinks he might have been taken out here after he put the kick forward.
Well, it was great presence of mind to transfer that ball straight to the boot. Had a little bit too much on it. We can't have everything, I guess. It was a good intercept, and like I say, smart to just put it straight on the boot.
Setoiki Tuasuva wasn't too far away from catching up with it. He's in for Lester Fainganuka, who is just having a knock this week, so he's being rested. So, scrum. Two front rows, 330 kilos versus 335, so not too much in it. Slight superiority for Toulon. Total pack weights over 900 kilos for Toulon, 874 for Racing. It's not quite the power pack that we saw the French packing today against Wales, where they had some serious dump trucks lining up against the Welsh, who physically weren't able to cope with the sheer physicality of the French, particularly as the match wore on in Cardiff.
Well, that's a reasonably significant difference tonight between the two pack weights. You know, it's not all about weight. Obviously, the technique matters, and leg strength is the key, and cohesion often obviously in the scrum. But a difference of at least sort of 30 kgs when you're talking 874 versus over 900. We've already seen the first shunt from Toulon. They got a tight head, and they've just put pressure on to get their feed now for the scrum. So Racing scrum already under pressure.
But doing well there, and Toulon use it quickly. Donglo feeds it out to Hervé. Villiers head straight into Oliver Clemenchac, who's the man who's in for Gaël Ficou tonight. Gaël Ficou scoring a try earlier today for the French national side, and a really good one it was, using a lot of the team, the forwards and the backs, putting it together. That's dropped, and it means Racing will get the put in. Teddy Bobigny is the man looking up, looking a little embarrassed.
Well, they were under pressure right from that first, as you say, Angus, the scrum from Racing put pressure on Toulon. They didn't get great ball, but their back move wasn't good. Their launch move wasn't good. The timing wasn't good. It was really predictable when Villiers came in. He got hit, and from that moment forward, the Racing team was on the front foot. Toulon was having to try and get the momentum back, and eventually the mistake occurred.
Mathieu Reynal wanting to stop the chit-chat, I think, as the two front rows approaching each other.
It's not the first referee to want to hit the mute button, is he? And fair enough, there's a lot of chat out there.
Solid work this from Racing, holding their own nicely. Off the back. Spring feeds it out into the path of Clemenchac with his little skunk cap on, and there's a penalty. Not rolling away by the looks of it. Well, Mathieu Smaili saying, what else do you want me to do? Man in for Duncan Payoa. Well, Seyanai Kalevu, incidentally, is nursing a shoulder problem this week, which is why he's nowhere near the 23.
Decision time for Racing, and discussion there. Tedder looking at the posts. I don't think it's a matter of worried whether or not he can get it. It's just whether they want to try and stay down this end, maybe hit a line out 5 or 7 metres out, try and drive it over, or take the shot. He is on a bit of an angle here, and he's having a go. That does make it about probably 50 on the angle when he's 40 metres out and right by the touchline.
Well, we saw Thomas Ramos, the Toulouse fly half today rather than full back. He does bend the ball in beautifully from this angle. He was absolutely on fire. 8 out of 9 kicks for him against Wales in the Six Nations. Tristan Tedder doesn't have quite those numbers. And it's drifted just the right way, and they're on the board. Stuart Lancaster under the sort of pressure he's not been used to this season so far, and what was a glittering start to his career. And he'll be very happy with the start that Racing have made. As they look for their first win in Top 14 since they beat Cast in the beginning of January.
Ok, jouez-le maintenant. Non, derrière là-bas, derrière les pieds. Yes, Mohamed. Yes, Mohamed. Yes, Mohamed.
Reasonably good angle for the touch finder from Lubai. Pretty standard there, but I'm sure Toulon quite happy 40 metres out to set this platform. Quite often the most space you get is from a line out. If you can get good clean ball straight out flat into the hands of the 10, there's 20 metres normally between the two back lines, so plenty of time to get up some momentum.
Teddy Bobigny then with the throw. It looked barely decent, but Racing dealt with that really well, and it's one against the head. Forward comes Tedder. South African on a diagonal run, and he's still going as well. Helped on by Kamil Shaw, make sure that Enzo Hervé can't get away. Max Spring comes forward and is well brought down by Tuisuvu. Lubai. Back from Baudon. Racing building, and there's a bit of a fight going on off the ball, which if they don't do something about it, the referee might do something about it. They still haven't got up. Referee is not interested. Oh, and now it's a 3-man, a 4-man fight on that far side. And it's all building off, and Mathieu Reynal is going to be forced to do something about this now.
Yeah, well, I think the little wrestling bout one-on-one was not too bad. As soon as it became a tag team.
Boris Palou, of course. Who else would be involved in that?
There's a bit of jersey grabbing. I don't think anything was too dangerous there.
No, just a bit of grappling, really. But it became one grapple and then another grapple and then another grapple.
Well, it's not bad if you can concentrate a few players, particularly forwards, that are out of the game in one spot and just sort of play around them. It's probably not bad for the game.
Two captains have been brought forward. Teddy Bobigny for Toulon and Henri Chevancy for Racing to deal with this problem between Hassan Collinger. Who was the other person on the Toulon side? Well, it's a great piece of play by Ibrahim Diallo to start with to get that ball against the head.
And that was the steal from Toulon. So there's a bit of frustration going on from both sides.
Gigashvili was the other person. Yep, well, that makes sense. And the arrival of Bobigny made Gigashvili think better of it. So then, normality returns. Everybody's going to start concentrating on the ball again.
Well, they've got a chance to channel their frustration now straight away in the scrum. Both sides, all those protagonists can get their shoulder down, working hard on this.
Well, the two protagonists have gone to the bin, so that's going to affect this scrum. So they'll have to bring on a couple of front row forwards. So it looks like Kamikamika is going to have to be sacrificed in order to bring on the loose head prop, which is Lino Julien. And who would have thought that this would have been the circumstance in which he would make his top 14 and professional debut? Just 19 years old, one of the crop of world champions of the under-20s from the summer. We saw a few of them on display for France earlier on today.
Well, planets have come into line, and for a prop, nothing better than to go on and get straight into a scrum, I'd imagine.
Well, Camille Chau has popped up. However, the referee's allowed the play to continue. Toulon have it. There's no penalty as far as I can see. Villiers, caught by Tedder, and also by Clemenchak. Enzo Hervé, nicely along the line. Gigashvili finds himself out on the midfield in the wing. Here comes the big Georgian. And somehow Camille Chau was the man that he was running towards.
Well, what a sight that was, wasn't it? And didn't he enjoy it? He didn't look like he was enjoying it. I think that's Georgian for I'm having a great time. Really got to stretch his legs out there.
Well, it's not often you get to see a tight head prop out on the wing. And he can't have done much for the person he was running at. Probably quite grateful, the opposing wings, that Camille Chau came over and helped out his mate, Wami Naituvi. It was a fairly good challenge, actually, by the Racing wing to stop the Georgian tight head prop, who's all of 18 stone, 118 kilos. I mean, it could be worse. Well, there are worse than that in top 14. Heavier, I mean, rather than worse.
Well, the unfortunate thing for him is he's probably used to running straight off the ruck into 4 or 5 defenders and protecting the ball. Suddenly, it's a different situation when you're out in space. You saw him looking around. As we see some, there's the yellow card. Yeah, after just shaking hands and kissed one another.
I was just about to wonder how on earth they were back on the pitch again. Yeah, well, the shaking hands didn't save them from 10 minutes sit down on the naughty step.
Yeah, just Gigashvili finding himself in a fairly unusual situation. Covered the ground pretty well too, but looking around for his support and maybe didn't protect the ball as it seemed like a more benign situation than he's used to maybe, and didn't protect the ball as well. Got hit.
Again, Racing strong in the scrum. Out they come again then, and forward by Naituvi. Lebai, flat ball, looking to punch a hole through the gain line. Slightly slower this time. Maybe looking for the kick instead this time. A little bit of territory, set the runners off. Christian Wade is on the pitch tonight, the former England international. Sorry, he's not an international, but he is English, 32 years old. Back from his attempt to get into an NFL career. Second season since he came into Racing. Way by Bobigny. And a foul to Racing.
Well, there are any number of infringements there. I think Donglo just copped a stray boot or some sort of a bony joint to the head, didn't look comfortable and let go of the ball straight away. And then I think it was Tolofua who regained the ball while he was on the ground. That may or may not have been what the penalty was for.
No Baptiste Serrin tonight, who could have replaced him. He's injured tonight. The man who's on the bench is no slouch, though. Vasil Lobanidze, 27-year-old Georgian international who's just come back from helping Georgia into the final of the Rugby Europe Championship with a victory over Romania. Georgia completely dominate the second-tier competition of Europe's international pyramid. And wow, it was the knee of Kamil Shah who came into Donglo. No wonder he's in pain. Well, they're debating here whether or not Kamil Shah is going to get a yellow. Whether that was a genuine attempt and the ball was open to be chased.
Well, if he sees that Donglo's already got control of the ball on the ground, he's not allowed to dive on him, for starters, so there's an infringement. That's the question, though. Whether he's just competing for a loose ball, that's not as bad. It was an accident.
Yeah, I don't think he deliberately kicked him in the head.
But Toulon has effectively lost out because of it, but
the referee doesn't seem to know what to do. Oh, sorry, he's saying, what are we doing to Tedder, not to the TMO? Anyway, it is a penalty, but nothing more than that. So there is the Racing bench. That's Benarous, you can see there in his Racing shirt with Sia Khaleesi alongside him.
Finger seems all right to be texting.
Yes. But you can see the cast there, which will keep him out for the next 4 weeks or so. So then Tedder, more or less the same place as the last attempt to get 3 points. He was successful with that. This to take them to 11. And not so good this time.
Well, that's two that he's pulled left. Even the one that he got, he kind of flirted a little bit with that left hand upright. So maybe a little bit of a recalibration for Tristan Tedder. Tristan, isn't it? I shouldn't frankify every name.
Well, he has been in France for quite a long time. Came in from the Sharks back in 2016 to Toulouse, and since then has been to Bayonne and Béziers and Perpignan before Racing this season. Helping Perpignan avoid relegation for the second year in a row in the playoff. Clement Jacques, outside centre, taken down. Lebai recycles. Nice push forward by the youngster, Lino Julien. Won the world title at the under-20s at the age of 18. That ball's gone forward. And it'll be a scrum to Racing. Well, Pierre Mignoni has had that expression on his face for a large part of the season, even when they were doing well.
Coming up very hard out to in Toulon. Most teams tend to do that these days as well, really to put the pressure on the decision-making of the team with the ball. But Racing might start working out how to pick through these little holes, because there are opportunities when a team does fly up that quickly. You can lose control over your decision-making on defence.
Well, Toulon have been very, very wary of just what a threat that Racing can be. They can turn nothing into something very quickly. That man has been doing it for years. Christian Wade, former Wasp. Also, unfortunately, they're no longer with us. Fortunately, Christian Wade still is. And a chance to go. Therefore, the 32-year-old.
Can't blame him for trying there. His job there is to get as far over the advantage line as he can. He hit the ground. He felt like he wasn't held, which he wasn't, and just a little bit, I guess, cynical that they'd call that. It's just taking that extra couple of metres, another roll.
Yeah, you're not allowed to do that anymore. Well, to be honest, you never were allowed, but it was tolerated before. Now it's zero acceptance.
That was probably about borderline. He can count himself a little bit unlucky there. There weren't really any defenders there that he disadvantaged.
Of course, the reason why they've made that zero tolerance now is because of the importance of jackling and how the opposition has to have a fair chance to get the ball once the tackle is made. Toulon on the attack. Bobigny, the captain, feeds it out to Enzo. Hervé through. Villiers finds the hole and in the corner scores. And Toulon reply. Back from a shoulder injury, Garbin Villiers comes up with his second try of the season in his first game back. And the away supporters have something to cheer.
Yeah, that's a superbly orchestrated try from Toulon. Just 2 phases. They swept back after getting it wide off the line out. They swept back down the blind side with a lot of space, punched into the holes, a lot of options, everybody running in support. And eventually it's Hervé who takes the gap and then quickly gets it away. Villiers just had too much pace on for Wade to turn and be able to get him. Clinical execution and a good try in the corner for Toulon.
Lovely little dummy by Hervé, created the space. And, well, Villiers can be one of the best finishers in French rugby.
I think he might have been involved in the first phase as well, Garbin Villiers, and he just swept around back onto the blind side. Where I say there was a lot of space there for them to use. They got a good flat pass from quick ball off the first phase, and he just loomed up, hitting it with perfect timing and speed.
Uh-oh.
Obstruction?
Well, I wonder whether they're now looking at why Hervé had such a clear run through there. They're checking for obstruction. David Ribbons.
Yeah, it's going to be a question of how much he affected that defender. There he is, because that's the gap that...
That is the gap he runs through, isn't it?
He got pushed onto the back foot.
It's Fabien Sanconi, the man who was backed up by Ribbons.
He's pushed him
And this
off
is what the TMO is saying.
Look, he's probably directly here. Look, it doesn't feel like much to a player, but it has directly affected Sanconi's ability to make that tackle. Much as it was a good gap and good acceleration by Hervé, he benefited.
Well, it created a chasm, didn't it, for him to run through. So then, try wiped off.
We've seen a couple of those this weekend as well, and I think the key really is if you're running as a dummy runner, stop or avoid taking out a defender, unless you do it legitimately. But that's a pretty fine line. Well, it's got to be the defender who makes the decision to take himself out by committing himself to you. As soon as you get the dummy runner from the team with the ball running straight into someone and touching them physically and affecting them, as he has here, then there's trouble. He can't believe it, but it's logical.
Well, if it had been round the other way, then I'm sure that Pierre Mignoni would have been 100% behind the decision, but obviously not when it's against his team. Camille Chat into the hands of Baudon. Driving maul established, Chat with the ball in hand. Racing making progress. Ibrahim Diallo is the digger in front of the hooker. They've gone down. The referee, though, has not penalised Toulon and in fact has given them the put-in at the scrum.
Ribbons trying to make amends pretty quickly. Wrap those big arms around there. They got a good drive on, didn't they, Angus? But eventually maybe they lost a little bit of control thanks to the speed and with which they were advancing. Just lost their support and allowed Toulon to come into the cracks. There was the initial drive and it just went so well that they ended up losing that control. There's Ribbons swimming through the middle, as he's allowed to do if he goes through the middle.
Yeah, it was Diallo who went down, so it would not have been a foul in any case.
Fairly stellar coaching line up there alongside
Freddie Michalak there. They could have done with him on the last couple of weeks, couldn't they, on the field as a fly half.
Joe Rocathoko beside him. I'm sure he could still run pretty quickly if he was out there.
Yes, an all-black legend on the wing. Decent kick. Max Spring will run it back and then belt it up to halfway. Probably quite relieved to be back on his sentinel position at full-back this week. After his first excursion. So then the yellow cards are finished. And it means that Julien, who's done pretty well in his first ever top 14 match. No doubt we'll see him later on in the second half.
It's probably not a bad one, just a 10-minute cameo.
Yeah,
get
yourself into it.
Get a few scrums and get the taste of it. And
well, there's no nerves when you suddenly thrust on without knowing. No, he would have probably been thinking, well, I'll come on in the second half. I'll stew until then, and all of a sudden he's on.
Plus he gets told at half-time, give it 10 minutes and then you're going to be on. He's even more nervous.
Well, he's very fortunate to have somebody like Dmitry Sjajewski as a coach.
Well, that wasn't a deliberate balk, but Bobigny not having control of the ball and a free kick given to Racing. He may have tried to hold it, been in two minds. I think maybe they got in confusion with, and he didn't see the movements he was expecting from his jumpers.
Another scrum being called.
It's a pretty rubbish legacy play starter, isn't it? The free kick. Not really a lot of option other than kick the ball high in the air and hope for the best, or set a scrum. To be fair, in this case, I don't think that was much of an infringement. I mean, it shouldn't be a penalty or anything like that. A scrum's probably the fair result, but still, that free kick at some point has got to go, doesn't it?
Yeah, Racing have begun to dominate the game in the last 10 minutes, as you can see from those statistics. Possession-wise, they've been very impressive in the scrums, despite having a lighter workload. And they've done well again. They're very solid in the set piece at the moment. Little kick forward over the top of Jaminet, who has a little look to see who's coming. It was Max Spring who was advancing on him. Garban Villiers taken down by Clemenchac. Racing keeping Toulon up their end of the pitch. Jules Donglo, they're going to keep this with the forwards for the time being. Ribbons will set up play again. All fairly pedestrian at the moment to set up the kick forward from the scrum half. And Racing, I think, will be delighted with that.
Yeah, they will, and I think Villiers will be delighted with Jaminet. He didn't show a lot of urgency to get back to the ball. Then he didn't show a lot of urgency to clear it and throw it across to Villiers, who copped the
two
pass
players
at the same time as he got two defenders.
Yes. So then, an attacking line out. And Pierre Mignoni looks miffed. Dmitry Sjajewski, as usual, looks very placid. Won by Racing. Trying to build. Setting up first phase play, and they get the penalty. Teddy Bobigny, the captain, guilty. And another chance here for Racing to extend their lead, and that's the decision given.
Yeah, one which they had to take too. This does put them, I mean, it's early days yet, obviously, but putting them outside that 7-point buffer, the converted try sort of buffer, and giving them a little reward for, as you said before, Angus, the dominance they've had possession-wise, just to get a few points, get back, reset, go again. Just keep that scoreboard ticking over and the pressure on the visitors.
And on top of that, when you only Oyonnax are currently on a longer losing streak in top 14 than Racing, you've got to get that scoreboard ticking over to make sure that you put the points on the board. Everything seems to have been against them, and it's come from nowhere, really. They have not dealt with the Six Nations window very well, and Tristan Tedder is back on target, and it is 11 points to 3. Could have been very different if that try had been stood, but it didn't. And so, as you say, it's an 8-point lead, more than a converted try in front.
Yeah, like I say, with 50 minutes to play, there's plenty of time, but it's just psychologically for a team, it's a bit of a boost.
Plus the fact that Racing know they can score tries as well. They proved it over and over again, even when they've been losing. The attack has not generally been the problem. I just said that about France, actually, this Six Nations campaign. Even today, gave away quite a few soft tries against Wales, but lethal coming forward themselves, a little bit like Racing.
Yes, they really accelerated after that 50-minute point, didn't they? And it was something that they showed leading into World Cup, that they could really last out a game a lot better than maybe traditionally the French have.
With everybody except the South Africans. How ironic that Sia Khaleesi ended up at Racing immediately afterwards. Bobigny then, let's see if he can deliver the ball this time. He does. Ribbons almost dropped by Donglo, but he manages to grip it at the second attempt. Forward comes the number 8 for Kundo Issa. Argentine international doing well. Bobigny recycles once more into Matthias Halagahu. However, they've lost the ball again. Toulon, kick forward by Labai. However, well covered by Jaminet. French international deciding to stretch his legs. Hervé, another little kick forward. I don't think they were ready for that though, and it was a little bit of a waste. Straight to Max Spring. Jaminet again comes the other side. Becoming a territorial battle. Now Tuvi decides not to kick and brings his teammates into action. Diallo, little step back inside, but no fooling to Asuvu. Kamitha. Tedder pulled back by Issa, and the ball has gone forward. Off who though?
Penalty, I think, for having a go at the ball too long.
It's Bobigny again, not rolling away. That's what it all comes down to. So whatever happened after that doesn't matter, because Bobigny was still in the tackle.
Yeah, and look, while it wasn't deliberate, you've still got to say, okay, if the attacking team, if the team with the ball is compromised by the tackler being in the wrong position, and they then lose the ball, they've got to get the penalty. Like I say, even if it's not deliberate. And one of the things that has allowed Racing to be back in this position, now kicking for 3 points, was the chase by Max Spring before. He kept chasing. It was obvious Jaminet was lining up for a massive kick. But because of Max Spring's persistence and just getting in maybe the eye line of Jaminet, he didn't hit a good ball. Where he might have put the ball out on the Racing 10-metre line, it stayed in. Racing were able to counter-attack, get up to this position. So some of those little things are really, really crucial, and it's things you can control, the persistence, the continuing the chase.
Well, this is looking good from Tedder. Yep, through. And the lead is up to 14 points to 3, and they are gradually tiptoeing their way away from Toulon. So an 11-point lead now. Still not out of sight, but like you say, it is just these little moral victories, step by step. Set piece is looking very good tonight for Racing, up against a Toulon side that pride themselves on the scrums, and always have done. That ball is there to be played now. Labai. Out to Sadate Gomez-Sarr, the tight head prop, playing for another South African World Cup winner, Trevor Nyakane, tonight. George-Henri Colom, incidentally, who moved to La Rochelle in the summer, came off the bench today to score try-on debut for France.
He's been in try-scoring mood lately.
He certainly has. La Rochelle getting a big victory earlier today as they tried to play themselves back into top 6 contention. They've been resolutely outside the top 6 for a large part of this campaign. They were outside it with Toulouse at one point, but Toulouse have turned things around dramatically in the last couple of months.
Important minute and a half coming up for both teams, really, just before they go into half-time.
Sergio Parise must have been pretty happy yesterday as his Italian side beat the Scots, who they say they target every Six Nations as the one they might win. Something about the Scots that doesn't intimidate them as much as everybody else, despite the fact that Scotland are as strong as they have been in the last 20 years. That's a great kick. Oof. What a kick. Melvin Jaminet. Talk about sending Galtier a message.
Yeah, well, that was an absolute rocket, wasn't it? It's a 50-22, I think.
It is.
I'm sure it's a 60-22.
Yeah, 60-22 from Melvin Jaminet.
That should be worth points.
Absolutely perfect.
I mean, there wasn't a lot Naituvi could do about that.
No. That was just perfect precision, power. Facundo Issa takes the line out. David Ribbons is with him. It's gone back. It's been ripped away by Camille Shah. And turnover ball again for Racing. At that end of the pitch, every time Toulon start to threaten, they lose the ball. That's a big hit, though, on Racing. And now all of a sudden, it's their turn to scramble. Good work, though. Boris Palou runs straight into Matthias Haleagu. Kami Kamitha. Slow ball at the moment. Labai is going to be looking for his fly half. In fact, he's looking for Max Spring, his full back, and they'll get rid of it out the back. And it has been a hard grafting first half, which has been scattered with the odd try, but at half-time, Racing in front at the moment by 14 points to 3 over Toulon.
Discussion d'ailleurs entre les protagonistes.
Mais ouais, mais est-ce qu'ils sont... non, mais est-ce qu'ils scellent le ballon? Parce que c'est ça qui est pénalisable. C'est pas le fait qu'ils viennent vous impacter.
Justement.
Tu vois?
Allez, bon, Henri. Henri, merci. On vous laisse vous réhydrater un peu. Merci de vous arrêter au
Henri Chavancy.
Première période avec cet avantage de 14 à 3.
So you're in front by 14 points to 3. What do you think you need to do in the second half? We need to keep up this intensity and the way we're engaging in the contest. Having a lot of defeats in a row has been somewhat frustrating. So we need to keep going with this sort of dynamic. It's not been much of a game to watch, but at least we're winning. That's the main thing for us. So then the other captain. First period where you've been dominated somewhat. Yeah, we haven't really had the ball. It's been tough to play. We've been making errors. We've not been very precise. And to be honest with you, we'll just put that first half behind us and do better in the second half. Well, if you're Stuart Lancaster, what do you think he said to Racing at half-time there? They're chasing their first win since January. They are in front against a Toulon side who are not very good away from home, it has to be said.
Well, I think they've got to keep playing. I don't think they want to sit on this. I mean, you know, it's only 11 points, obviously. I think territory is an important one for Racing, so keeping on with their kicking game, trying to work themselves into positions where they can find grass, so they don't want to kick straight to hand. But I really think for Racing, it's about the territory, playing down the Toulon end, making Toulon try and play out and chase the game.
So off we go. Toulon with their first chance to attack. Melvin Jaminet coming forward, and to Enzo Hervé, whose try assist was wiped off in the first half, to Isuvu. Always want to break through the gain line. Bobigny. Yuyut has come on for Issa at the back, which is a welcome return for the young back row forward. Yannick Yuyut in from Toulouse this season, but had a twisted knee against Toulouse. This is his first game of 2024 after being injured at the end of 2023. Early kicking contest at the beginning of the second half. Hervé, who's going to make the mistake first? Nicely taken by Natuvi. Labai. So then Racing are the team that decide they're going to stop the kicking contest first and take on the attack. Here they come. Max Spring back inside to the right wing, Christian Wade. Experienced English wing has given away the ball. Well, must be something about this end of the pitch, because that's exactly what Toulon were doing for a large part of the first half, trying to attack that end.
Well, they got good go forward there, Racing, and I think they were desperate to get that ball out quickly, and as a result just rushed it a little bit. Labai at the base of the ruck there, and there are a few legs in the road as the clean out occurred over the top of Wade. Not often that Naituvi has had much of a chance tonight. Nice to get his hands on the ball and good start of the momentum. There's the knock on from Lubai.
Tuvi must have been licking his lips when he saw that Enzo Hervé was the man who was in front of him. Bounced through him. So then the first scrum of the second half. Racing did very well in this part of the game in the first period.
A lot of space here. Often a really good place to attack from with a set move from scrum to really have it go wide, because Racing's got to cover all that backfield, so they can't put everyone up in that front line, defensive line.
Toulon have it. Yu, incidentally, 6 kilograms more than Facundo Issa, so that weight advantage has got bigger again. Donglo. Little chip over the top for Villiers to chase.
And that's offside, unfortunately. Off the boot of Racing, and reflex for a player when he sees the ball in the air like that, just to secure position. But unfortunately, like I say, there's the off the boot and there's the offside.
Yeah, Collinger, who spent 10 minutes in the bin in the first half, getting off to an inglorious start to the second. And of course, that means that the cannon of a boot of Melvin Jaminet will be brought back into play. He had a monster kick in the first half, and frankly, he looked like he could have kicked it further. Inside his own half, this should be relatively easy. It's inside the Racing half this time. Set to go over 100 points in top 14 for the season in this game. If he keeps on going, 93 coming in, excuse me. He's already kicked 3. This to double Toulon's points tally. Well, look how high that's gone. Boy, oh boy. No problem. 14 points to 6 then, and the first points of the second half go to Toulon, and that will do them a lot of good. As you see, Cameron Woki come on. Released by France, back to his club this week. Started all 5 of his matches at the Rugby World Cup. He had played in the Six Nations this time around, but released after the draw against Italy. I nearly said defeat against Italy. It was just that it should have been a defeat. Incidentally, Paolo Garbisi had the ball fall over him again yesterday in the victory over Scotland, but this time he picked it up, put it back down again, and then smiled and put it between the posts rather than onto the post, which is what happened to him against the French last weekend. Aggressive stuff from both sides, trying to secure the ball. Enzo Hervé playing scrum half to Guillashvili. He runs into Cameron Woki, who makes his first tackle since coming on at the break. Offside. Quickly taken by Donglo. Off he comes again. Jaminet to Isuvu. Oh, big hit. There on Lubai, I think. Donglo decides not to go down the blind side, comes back the other way instead. Oof. Nasty slip in the midfield. Did well there not to actually knock the ball on. Donglo again, he'll do the little chip over, and Jaminet goes looking for it. Baudon catches it, Jaminet takes him. Racing those secure possession, back it comes, Lubai, it's charged down. Another offside. Maybe not behind the hindmost foot before that kick was taken. Saw Roman Tafafanua score a try for France earlier on in the day, doing just that sort of thing. And there was a debate there about whether or not he was offside too.
Looks like it's Racing's turn to try and bring a cannon of a boot, and I think they're having a go here from 54-55. That's Tuithuvu, and he doesn't miss when he puts his shoulder down to it, does he? Tedder here, a long way out.
So then, pretty much the same distance as we saw Melvin Jaminet rifle A kick over the posts, aiming at these posts. Tedder looks like he's hit it pretty well as well. Well, he's got his shooting boots on in the second half after a couple of errant kicks in the first, and Sia Khaleesi is delighted, or as delighted as he can be, bearing in mind he's not playing.
Looked a little tentative on the applause, to be fair, understandably.
Well, yes.
There was plenty to spare there too. Great kick from Tedder.
So then, 17 points to 6, and the 11-point lead is reinstated. Good tackle by Chavancy. Hervé. Miss pass out to Tuisuvu. He cuts back inside, but Tedder does a good job of holding on to him. Villiers now driving forward and is eventually pulled back by Clemenchac. Not rolling away, I'm assuming that penalty is going to be for the advantage. So a free hit here for Enzo Hervé. Oh, and he just didn't quite manage to pick it up and knocked it on, but it doesn't matter.
It was a good idea from Hervé, just unfortunately ball didn't bounce up from Clemenchac. Debating, but I don't think he's got a lot of an argument there. It wasn't deliberate again, but where he's ended up from the tackle has clearly compromised the ability of Toulon to keep on attack and get that quick ball. So, you know, while it wasn't deliberate, the penalty is the logical decision. Here's Hervé. If that little bounce up there might have been interesting, although there was plenty of Racing cover coming across. The tit-for-tat battle perhaps continues between the kickers here.
Danny Priso has come on. So a change at loose head prop. Bruce Deveau has vacated the pitch, at least for now.
Another very similar kick for Jaminet, isn't it? It's like a practice session, long-range practice session.
This one doesn't look quite as good. He's just hooked it slightly. And it remains 17 points to 6. So then, the unusual occurrence of a 22 dropout in modern day rugby. Don't often see them anymore. Used to see them all the time. Salvatio Tolafua heads into contact. Donglo recycles. Out by Priso. Forward by Halegahu. Donglo to Hervé. Nicely done. A little bit of a set-piece move being moved here by Toulon. Haven't seen too much from Gaël Drian yet, but a move forward there from the right wing. Hervé, Gigashvili just held on to it. Ribbons. Tackle called against the South African-born England international, or as was, doesn't qualify anymore. Back inside, Yuyut. Donglo, Gigashvili again. He's well brought down. Slow ball though, and that has been knocked on, I think, isn't it? Yes. So advantage being played for Racing. So the advantage over. Decent kick forward as well. However, it will hand possession back to the opposition. Not sure whether that was an attempt at a 50-22 or not, but it didn't get very close.
Bit of a shame for Toulon there, and it's a good lesson for young players as well. I think Jules Coulon in the number 7 jersey wasn't really expecting the ball there, and he got it thrown out to him because it was the right ball. He was the one who was in a little bit more space than the player on the inside. We see the hurdle here from Toulon, from Yuyut. But as it came out here, it was a good ball, either from Hervé or Jaminet. It was the right ball to miss out the first forward runner. Unfortunately, the guys outside weren't expecting it. Should always be ready for it, running a dummy line.
Oh, and they weren't ready for that, though. The dummy run and the run by Donglo, and he keeps it going. Donglo goes down. Villiers, though, in a foot race with Christian Wade. Christian Wade still shows he's got the speed at 32. Naituvi hurdling his way through the defenders. All of a sudden, the game has opened up.
No, derrière, derrière.
Yuyut told to get back, and Max Spring trying to burst through. Naituvi playing scrum half, although he'll wait now for Clovis Labai to arrive. And that's the end of that attack, as the ball is about to go aerial. Danny Priso says, can I get him? Ball's not out. I think he knew the answer. Jaminet thinks he can see space on this near side. However, it's covered by Tedder. It's a little bit risky. Crowds say that Tedder was obstructed. Back comes Tuisuvu, though. Villiers, that ball's gone out.
Well, he made a really good tackle, Tedder, after the little collision that he had. There was nothing in that. But he got up straight away and took on a storming Tuisuvu. Eyes light up normally when they see a 10 in front.
Oh, we saw that with Thomas Ramos for France. They were hiding him all over the place, trying to keep him out of the defensive structure of France, and they ended up conceding a couple of tries as a result. Maybe one of the reasons why he plays fullback a lot. Fly halves are the creative heartbloods of the side. Toulon have had some spectacular fly halves in the past, so too have Racing. But you remember the likes of Johnny Wilkinson for Toulon, a man who was creative coming forward, but was very much wore a badge of honour in defence as well. Not all the fly halves have that. Labai. Now then, what's happened here?
Last warning, I'd say.
Yeah.
Struggling a bit in the line out, Toulon. Not a bit, they're struggling a lot in the line out.
Qui forcent la décision comme ça, depuis tout à l'heure, j'ai dit stop à ça. Donc, si jamais c'est clair, j'ai dit je lèverai les bras, ça veut dire ballon sorti. Ils me regardent, mais ils arrêtent de forcer la décision comme ça. Okay?
Basically, the essential thing here is to stop the referee, stop telling the referee what should happen, and stop demonstrating when they're playing that he thinks they should get a decision going their way. And if it doesn't stop, somebody's heading for the bin.
Yeah, I think a bit more listening, isn't it?
Yeah.
He's calling them to get their arms off it. And, yes, I think just reminding them who's boss and who is dictating things at the breakdown. So have a bit of a go, but as soon as the referee says, get your hands off it, they've got to respect that. And again, Toulon coughing up the ball on their own throw.
Yeah, they've been struggling. Well, Donglo was the man, I think, that Mathieu Reynal was talking about this time.
Natural instinct, I guess, when you've lost your throw again,
yeah,
to do everything you can to try and, you know, get the ball back. Ted a long range again. No.
He's not got that either. Well, ambitious going from that distance, and they made it look easy with their first two attempts. Laurent Travers there, looking like he's living every moment of this with Jackie Lorenzetti behind him. Two men at the top of the managerial pyramid. Jeremy Sanzel has come on for Enzo Hervé. So a change at scrum half, even though it's a centre who's come on. The 33-year-old, though, is more of a fly half than most. He certainly will not be intimidated about it in the same way that perhaps Max Spring would have done. Here is Max Spring, back at at fullback this week. Caught by Jaminet, had to go over his own player to get there. That's really good play. Donglo. Toulon start the build forward. You're not allowed to do that, Boris Palou is told. He's got 6 seconds to get rid of that ball now.
Apparently.
Yes.
Yet to see it enforced. Max
Spring came for it, Ribbons got there, and Spring gets it on the second attempt. Good play by the fullback for Racing. Lebai has it. And it comes to Gomez Sarr. Tedder. Forward. Slow progress at the moment from Racing. Even slower now because it's turnover ball.
Well, it's an interesting one. I'm always curious with these decisions because Racing looked like they had plenty of numbers and support there. And if they've got numbers there to create the ruck, they have to be forced off the ball for Toulon really to have the rights for it. So, yeah, it's an interesting one. Lebai was gesticulating. He thought there should be a penalty against Toulon for holding onto the ball on the ground.
Oh, that's tough.
Maybe it's justice.
That's an error, yes. Looking for to get to the 5-metre line, but Jaminet bit off just a little bit too much there, and well, his performance is just beginning to wane just slightly.
Yeah, like I say, it's just bemusing when you see a team that seems to have enough numbers there in support, a ruck well and truly formed, and suddenly the penalty goes against them, as we see the kick just swinging a little bit. He never hit it perfectly. I mean, he's got a thumping boot, but it didn't really come off cleanly. Just swung in a little bit.
Well,
very tempting to go for that as far as you can. You know, give your forwards the chance to get that line out.
Well, there's a big
going.
difference, isn't there, between you know, a line out on the 22 and a line out on the 5-metre line. Cedric Heymans watching on. He's a Canal Plus pundit these days. He was on the Saturday night programme last night here in France, as he always is. Tedder. Jaminet. Beaten backwards by the Racing defence. However, they've managed to secure the ball at the back. Gigashvili straight into Woki. Out by Donglo, with Woki trying to charge him down. And Donglo's done quite well there, and I think he got hit by the former Bordeaux-Bègles forward. This was the ball forward for Spring looking forward that was picked up by Jaminet. He's got some spring in those legs.
There might be a few players starting to cramp a little bit. There's been a lot of running in this game. We saw both captains who were interviewed at half-time. I was almost wanted to warn people not to go and adjust the colour on their screens. They were very, very hot. Inside, of course, a little bit more muggy and heavy atmosphere. And as a result, a lot of sweat, dehydration, and a bit of cramp coming into play.
Change at scrum half for Toulon with Vasil Lobenetsa coming on. For Donglo, he limps off, so we won't be seeing him again for the rest of the match, because once it's an injury substitution, they can't come back on again.
This was the great run he just made before, and look, full marks for enthusiasm there. One of those moments where perhaps, you know, unobvious in hindsight, just waiting for his support, slowing up a little bit. You don't have to go full pace the whole way when you make a break, especially if there's cover defence coming. Hold up, wait for your support to get to you and give you some options.
Change at tight head prop as well for Racing, with Gia Kariashvili coming on for Sedate Gomez Sarr. Nice one. Georgian replacing a Portuguese ahead of the Rugby Europe Championship, where those two nations will play each other at Stade Francais down the road.
Yeah, the culmination of that next tier European competition. Seen plenty of those top two teams now at the World Cup. Portugal getting their first win at a World Cup. They almost got it the week before, didn't they, last year? They had a draw and then subsequently beat Fiji, an extraordinary result.
A little bit like Italy last week against France, nearly beating them for the first time. Indeed, everything was going on about how they didn't win, but at least they avoided defeat, which was a first for them against France. Well, the changes haven't affected the scrums very much. Still very competitive. Jaminet, that kind of ricocheted into his arms. Forward by Drian. First touch of the ball for Jeremy Sanzel at fly half, wearing number 20. Away comes Lobenitsa, same thing for him. into Marlon Ribu, the centre who has just come on as well. In his second Top 14 season, this is his first appearance since September. Lovzinza looking for the ball, and he's not going to get it because it's going to be a penalty the other way. Going in off your feet by Toulon. Yannick Tarrant, another man who's just come on. Replacement hooker coming on for Kamil Shah.
Well, the Racing players got told to release the tackled player who'd managed to find a knee on the ground. It's Ribbons, and then Tarrant was all over him straight away.
Yannick Tarrant has had appendicitis this season and has gone over it, has come back. Carlos Sainz, the Formula One driver, must be sympathetic to that. He's going through the same thing right now.
A little bit closer in this time, Tedder. He maybe doesn't have to force the ball as much.
A lot of penalties coming into the game in the second half. That looks better. Up to 20 points now then, the hosts. As you look at Juan Imhoff, the Argentine international, about to come back into play for Racing.
Yeah, they've got some big backs on the bench, haven't they? Imhoff, Saili and Arundel. You want to give them a lot of time here. I mean, there's only 19 minutes to go. You don't want to disrupt too much, but give them a chance.
Yeah, no 6-2 spread for Racing today. Back comes Nayatuvi. Normally making good ground as well, accompanied by Ibrahim Diallo. So good around the gain line is Diallo, whether he's got the ball himself or he's latching onto a ball carrier himself. Jaminet thought he was going to let that bounce off him. Villiers taken down by Wade. And they've lost the ball again. However, Toulon will have the put-in by the looks of it. So this time the knock-on has gone the other way.
Well, Wade got in and did really well there.
Yeah.
And he might have cause for complaint there, because it didn't look like he was able to, just a slip from Villiers there, nothing in that. Wade's gone straight in and pilfered that, and then got taken out, I think, as well. I mean, you see there Villiers still trying to play the ball while he was on the ground.
It was Nayatuvi who came in to back up Wade.
Je souhaite voir l'image d'un potentiel jeu déloyal.
Uh-oh.
Du blanc sur le joueur noir sur les 50.
So some unsportsmanlike behaviour going on that the TMO is interested in having a look at on the halfway line by the sounds of it.
Against Racing.
I did wonder, no hands or no arms tackle?
Well, he's gone low, and no, I think he's hit him around the chest height there, plus Villiers was slipping.
No, that's shoulder, isn't it?
I think that's fine.
Yeah, it's...
Il engage l'épaule. Voilà.
Mathieu avec ce ralenti. Oui, ça tout touche l'épaule, il n'y a aucun jeu déloyal, on est sur jeu.
Right, so the TMO even, he's decided to back away from his comment, I think.
Good on them.
Yeah.
Look, there's a responsibility for them to look at anything that might need a second look in slow motion to get an exact line on what height they were at. But that's a good decision.
I can see why they looked at it again, because it went through my mind to start with.
Well, look brutal. He stopped pretty quickly, Villiers, didn't he?
Yeah.
It looks bad.
It wasn't much of an attempt to get the hands round him, but it was there.
No, he was going pretty low. He lost track of the height of Villiers, I think, Wade, and you know, good shoulder contact. Not that I can talk from experience on this, of course, but good shoulder contact often, even if the shoulder's open and the arms are ready to wrap, will knock a player backwards so you don't get the chance to wrap.
Nicely done. Lomanidze with fast ball. Out to Tuisuvu, and he's got away from Nayatuvi, accompanied by Villiers. Out wide goes to Gendrian. He cuts back inside again. Cutting edge suddenly discovered by Toulon. Sanzel feeds the ball out, and they are around about 10 metres away from the line. Villiers tries to punch his way through. However, there's 3 Racing players there. They'll have to let go now. They're off their feet. Drian Tuisuvu, Prisu, who's going to play scrum half in this? Nobody in the end. They decide to pick and go. They're going to come back.
A good steal from Waukee, so they have to come back from the penalty. What about Villiers? Brick wall in front of him, and he comes flying in at 1,000 miles an hour, try and free up his forwards, take a bit of the workload off them. Definition of bravery. What a run from Tuisuvu.
That was cracking.
The outside break combined with the big old fend got himself in space. Good cover defence from Racing, though, getting across Angus.
Toulon have not scored a try today. Worried expression of Pierre Mignoni.
Sorry, mate. 2 converted tries behind, so you can see why they're trying for the 7-pointer here.
Bobigny. Little set-piece move. And they thought they were going to go to Prisu, but they didn't use him in the end. Kamikamitha trying to get involved there, but Toulon still have it. Waukee with Ribbons. Ribbons down. It's an advantage to Toulon again. It is just as well because they were about to lose the ball there to the Jackal.
Yeah, I think Naituvi's been penalised there because I don't think there was enough gap as Ribbons hit the ground, allowing that daylight space or the floodlight space before going back in to steal the ball. Mignoni calling for the scrum. Decent blind side here that Racing really have to consider. Here's this run from Tuisuvu before. One big fend. Clemenchak it was. But like I say, that Racing cover defence screaming across.
That was great by Clemenchak because it looked for all the world as if that was a clear line to the try line, and his speed across cut off the angle.
There's the penalty at the end from Ribbons, a surge towards the line. Slow motion of Mignoni's decision.
Yeah, essential to have a slow motion of Pierre Mignoni's decisions.
The authority of French halfbacks. They always have been, right from the time of Farouk and Pierre Berbizier. They're the boss in French rugby.
Just as important to have slow motion replays of Patrick Arletaz's reactions of celebrations. No one celebrates like the former Perpignan boss, who's now part of the French international setup. Yuyut trying to, in fact it's not Yuyut, excuse me, it was Tolafua who's moved to number 8. Trying to do something with that ball, and he had a Racing hand stopping him unhitching himself.
He had another couple of Racing hands in the form of Clovis Lebai trying to pull his jersey off too. And at least get a bit of a head start on the tackle if he did take the ball off. So
this is where the game rather gets stuck a little bit sometimes as they reset scrums.
Yeah, I don't know why the clock doesn't get stopped. Nothing preventing rugby from saying, look, professional sports in the United States and the NBA, NFL are 60 minutes. Why don't we do a 60-minute game with more
stoppages of the clock?
Stoppages of the clock.
Because, of course, this is certainly something that Racing will be very happy to do.
Yeah.
Just they're 14 points in front. Just let the scrums reset. Every time you do a scrum, it's more or less 2 minutes off the clock. Well, it's out. And it finds its way into the hands of Maëlen Rebu. However, Racing defending well. Lobanidze. Swan Rabaj who's come on. Another French international, although not for a couple of years now. Jeremy Sanzel has a couple of anchors hanging onto his ankles. They miss out Gigashvili, but they keep it with the forwards. Lobanidze. That ball might have been lost. It's just come back. They nearly lost it. Tolafua out to Ribbons. Villiers juggles and delivers it to Melvin Jaminet, who comes all the way back the other way and is brought down by Henri Chavancy. Lobanidze, Gigashvili again, the main hitman as they go in with first receiver. Sanzel, Ribbons. Ribbons gets an extra couple of meters before crashing to the deck. There's a penalty advantage to Toulon again. Tolafua. Oh, this is looking good now. They need somebody out on that right-hand side. It's Yuyut, would you believe? And he's got it down. Has he got his feet in touch, though? Well, another unexpected receiver out on the sideline.
Just as well, because he had two desperate Racing defenders coming across, so it was well somebody had the size and strength of Ute. He definitely got it down, Angus, didn't he? But the question will be, and I think he was out. He's hit the corner post, which is no longer a consideration. But you've got to say the odds are that he's got his feet over the sideline. A little bit of a bobble as he tries to get it across. Big man to have to shift. Yeah, definitely. There's that left foot straight away. That's a great hit from Spring.
Yeah, really good. Backed up by Nayatuvi. I always couldn't believe it when I was about to say his name, and I'm like, Ute, really?
Well, maybe that bobble did work against him in the end. If he'd caught that early and had the time to brace himself for the impact, he's a much, much bigger man than Max Spring. And so just the time taken to regather that ball kept him a little bit off balance, enough to be shunted. But it's like hitting the Empire State Building.
Such a shame, though, for him. Back from the twisted knee against Toulouse, his first game of the new year. It would have been a great way to mark it. Worry lines gathering on the forehead of Pierre Mignoni.
Yeah, well, that clock seems to have sped up in the second half. It's gone really quickly, hasn't it?
Teddy Bobigny then with 11 minutes to go. Beautifully taken in the middle. And away comes Danny Priso. Oh, they've done well to keep him out. Powerfully packed. Loose head prop, athletic. They still have it, though. Over they go again. No, more good defending. Chouvency amongst them. Gigashvili takes it up. He can't get in either. Priso again, trying to go over the top. Has he got the ball down? No, it's been held up. And it's Racing who celebrate like they've scored. It's Chouvency again, the captain. Not the most spectacular player, but boy, he's the oil in the engine that keeps everything working the way it should.
He's certainly courageous, Henri Chouvency. Finally, they won a ball in a good attacking position, Toulon, but still bobbled around. It wasn't clean. And this is really a big ask, to go through or over the top of a ruck and get the ball down. There are so many bodies there. Maybe a little bit of patience is better. That's what's going through Pierre Mignoni's mind. If they'd shown a little more patience, a little more composure, a few more phases, they might have got across.
Lovzanitsa amongst those who was a bit frustrated as Bobigny goes off and is replaced by Jack Singleton, ex-England international, all the way back in 2019, including one match at the Rugby World Cup against the Americans. One of those who was one of the casualties of the Gloucester implosion.
Captain Chouvency's also gone off now for Racing, as you just saw.
Kamikatha has come off and has been replaced by Antim Emery, 23-year-old back row forward. Yet to start a game for Racing this season. All of his appearances have come off the bench. Toulon on the attack once more. That might have gone forward. No, the referee says it went backwards. Toulon able to continue. To Isuvu playing scrum half. Out it comes from Rabu. Jamanet. Lebai hangs on to him, helped out by his fellow halfback Tedder. Villiers to Danny Priso. He runs into Kariashvili. Toulon again into the 22. Sanzel. Back into the hands of the forwards. It was Singleton with his first carry. Jamanet, oh, intercepted by Max Spring, but will that be regarded as a deliberate knock-on?
Well, the odds are good. They've got a fairly low tolerance threshold here with these sort of moments, particularly if it affects a try-scoring opportunity. So what in the old days you'd say is a bit of a speculator knocking the ball and trying to regather it. As I say, the threshold is very, very low these days. And yeah, I just think that first motion from Spring, unfortunately, is going to make them feel like it was a knock. Well, maybe not.
Was it a genuine attempt to intercept the ball?
The more I see it, the more I think it was. Yeah.
Yeah, it does look like one, doesn't it? And the TMO agrees with you.
Pour moi, c'est un simple en avant. Je vois pas d'en avant délibéré.
Yes, I did worry for Max Spring there a little bit. Just the fact that it hits one arm. And of course, a lot of players in the past have benefited from an intercept where they bat the ball, it goes up in the air, they regather. But no, it was more than that, so that's good. Again, common sense prevailing.
Must have had his heart in his mouth, though, there for a second, because more often than not, those decisions go against you. So Boris Palou has come back on again, and Sarkoni has come off. So again, able to do that, because as long as he doesn't come back on in the number 4, he can come on again as the opposite second rower.
I think what also helps Max Spring in that situation there is he was looking at the ball. You know, his eyes were following the ball across to his right arm. So that's sometimes an indicator too, when the eyes are on the player, but the hands out somewhere to the right, slapping at the ball.
A couple of good sensible decisions there between the referee and the TMO in this game. Penalty coming for Toulon. Lobzanidze out to Villiers. Once more, Villiers trying to break his way through past Kariashvili. Tolofua. Lobzanidze once more. Sanzel, that wasn't the best kick. They are going to come back, though. I know you've got a free hit sometimes, but you've got to also be a little bit sensible.
Yeah, looked at
because those penalties do last quite a long time.
It smacked of desperation a little bit, didn't it? It wasn't quite a roll the dice sort of a kick. It was a get rid of it kick and hope. Going to go for touch again, Toulon. See if they can win their own line out. I mean, you'd have to back Racing to really try and win this one, unless they just put their all shoulders to the pump. But
so Jaminet accurate, not closer this time. Pierre Mignoni losing what's left of his hair.
He needs to start scratching that chin, doesn't he?
Yeah. And a first line out for Jack Singleton to launch. A little bit messy. Nobody knows where the ball has gone, and I think Racing have turned that ball over. What a wasted opportunity for Toulon again. Villiers told to get back. Ball was not out. Now it is, and it's away by Le Bay. Advantage is over, and frankly, not the best result for Racing out of that. Toulon will stay in attack.
No, Racing did put up a competing jumper at that line out, and in the end it went over the top of him, but it went to sort of no one from Toulon. So again, problems, and bet your bottom dollar Racing will have another go at this one.
That's better. Into Swan Rabage. And now their first phase play is looking a little bit more deliberate. Tuisuvu, though, really well tackled by Clemenchak, who's had an excellent game in defence so far. Singleton up to the 22, supported by Drian and Villiers, but another good tackle. Lobzanidze. Tolofua recycles. Sanzel. Back inside once more, but good tackling from Racing, keeping them at arm's length at the moment. All Sanzel's dropped it. And turnover ball again. Max Spring clears. Finds space too. Advantage will be over with that kick. Suddenly it's Lobzanidze scrambling back. Good chase by Christian Wade. Stops the escape ball coming. And Toulon have to build again. Tuisuvu is the man on his feet because Lobzanidze's at the bottom of that ruck. Emeric Setiano, the tight head prop, who's come on for Beka Gigashvili. Rabu, Ribbons, Yayut's outside him. Ribbons decides to take on Naituvi himself. Lobzanidze back on his feet once more. Tolofua, Priso getting those legs pumping and gets an extra couple of meters, moving the gain line backwards. Tuisuvu, this is good work. Villiers needs support now. Finds it with Tuisuvu. Runs into Antim Hemery. Well, lots of phases, but not making an awful lot of progress here, Toulon. Novelisa decides to kick, and even that is tipped down by Palu, caught by Woki. And now Labai has it, and Tedder. So it's all going wrong for Toulon. Everything they're building at the moment is eventually unravelling, and that's a good kick too. Yute has it, man chasing back. Does really well. Here's Jaminet. Well, they got themselves out of jail there, and then Jaminet loses the ball. Picked up by Lino Julien, who came on in the first half. And the ball is not taken with Maxime Baudon, who scored the opening try of the game at the beginning of the match. Well, it's loose from both sides.
Yeah, real comedy of errors here. With nobody laughing. Ute coming off his wing and providing a nice little pass for Jaminet, who promptly turns over the ball. Racing a chance to put this game beyond doubt and just can't quite hold on to it. Toulon. Not Toulon, sorry, Baudon. Try scorer.
Yeah, well, Jaminet wishes he could have caught on hold of it as well, but
72 minutes without a second try after that scintillating first try from Racing.
Max Spring is coming off. Yeah, the other try, as we'll call it, was written off. Scored by Garban Villiers, but written off because of obstruction by David Ribbons. Here comes Warname off then. Argentine international. Looking to freshen up the back line. Coquito, as he's known. 35 years old now. First appearance in a month. Inside the last 5 minutes. And the victory looking more and more sure here for Racing as they look to end their 5-match losing run. Away comes Toulon though, and a chance here. Missed pass, knocked on though by Villiers. Well, we'll say well spotted by the referee. It was pretty obvious. And we're going to come back for the penalty though.
Another wasted opportunity really from Toulon. Ball, I'm sure, would have been nicer in Villiers' hands than bouncing about 3 or 4 metres at awkward distance in front. They managed to thread that ball nicely against Racing defence that was coming up really quickly, but just once again that last little touch when they were looking in a good position too long. They'll be regretting some of the unforced errors they've made tonight, the line-outs, some of the handling errors, the opportunities they've squandered.
Yeah, Tuisuvu doesn't deserve to be on the losing side though. He has been as good as anybody in a Toulon shirt tonight. Melvin Jaminet, it's another inconsistent performance from the prodigiously talented, but as we say, inconsistent fullback. Stuart Lancaster will be able to take some positives, I think, out of this. The home crowd will at least be able to go home with a victory. And at the rate things are going, Toulon are not even going to get a defensive bonus point. David Ribbons. Can't believe it. And Jack Singleton also pulling his hair out. Something that Pierre Mignoni doesn't have to worry about.
He's got other things to worry about at the moment though, doesn't he?
Clovis Labai gets things underway with 2 minutes to go. Even if they score a try and convert it now, it will not be enough for a defensive bonus point. Desperately trying to create something. Singleton back the other way and it's intercepted. And away comes Clovis Labai to seal the victory for Racing. Well, he wondered where that other try would come from. It's come from a mistake, which is perhaps no surprise. But Clovis Labai comes through to get his first try of the campaign.
The opportunistic try from Racing. They've really bookended this match with a try at the start, a try at the finish. They will want to do this quickly, take this conversion, because there's still a chance if they roll the dice after regaining the kickoff, they could get a bonus point for 3 tries. But Lubai's worked hard all night.
Non, non, regarde.
As I say, opportunistic. It was against the run of play, but very much deserved from Racing. And Toulon again left regretting the mistakes they've made tonight.
His first score in 2 seasons. And it relieves any pressure that was left.
Arrête du temps, alors. Tu veux le...
Well, luckily for Racing,
Now what are we looking at?
they've actually stopped the clock, which is not a bad thing, because that would still be ticking away waiting for the conversion.
La réalisation, je souhaite revoir l'action sur le ruck, sur les 50, voir s'il y a un en avant-plan.
I'm going to check if there's been a knock-on by Racing in the build-up.
Of course,
Well, we've had one try ruled out because of obstruction. Yannick Tarrant is the man who's gone down here. Has that ball gone forward from the replacement hooker?
well, it sort of squeezed out under his arms and ended up going forward, but as he...
Là, là. Donc le joueur lâche le ballon. On est d'accord, Jules?
Oui, il
Le
lâche le
joueur lâche le
ballon.
ballon en avant.
They're going to wipe this off.
Pas essayer.
An insult to injury for Tarid. He got a real faceful at the end, didn't he?
It did. Still chewing his lip from where he did get hit.
En avant.
So, 3 times we've crossed the try lines. Only one of them has actually counted.
Et 23. 17 et 23 blancs.
Teddy Thomas there in the crowd, not involved with the French national side anymore. He used to be a regular. Gomez-Sarra's coming on for Kariashvili.
En place.
Glad you corrected my first guess, which was Jay-Z. Partially obscured up there in the crowd as people milled around in front of the camera. Good crowd for a Sunday night, again. Proving very popular, isn't it? The late kick-off to round out a good weekend of rugby.
Teddy Thomas was one of the reasons why Gail Fiku crossed the capital divide to come to Racing. Then he left to go to La Rochelle. That's a little bit messy from the Toulon scrum, but they managed to tidy up it eventually. Forward by Rabu, out by Labanidza.
Mile
Oh,
offside.
hello. Shirt has been cleaned off the back there. Toulon, though, still have possession. Rabaj, Sanzel, Yayut. Coming up to the final minute. Priso, Sanzel. Don't seem to have much idea of where they're going with this, though, Toulon. Jamanet, it's very much make it up as you go along. Rabu again. Loveninza. Oh, and then knocked on by Stavo, isn't it?
Deuxième en avant.
Well, I think across those 7 or 8 phases, Racing averaged about 2.5 metres offside. And it makes you wonder what the touch judges are doing, because it makes it so hard for the attack. I think Tarit was almost in the Toulon backline there when he came up and made a tackle.
It was Emerick Satiano who had his shirt literally ripped off his back by Yannick Tarrant. Surely they should wait until the end of the match before they do such things. The escapology act by the prop forward nearly worked. Didn't have time to put it back on again before play came back his way. So then 30 seconds to go, time is off, but really there's not much point anymore. Unless, of course, as you say, well, no, they can't even get the bonus point anymore because that try was written off. So this game is really essentially over.
Ça veut dire qu'ils doivent sortir un joueur.
Counts for the slightly subdued mood,
Yeah.
perhaps, in the crowd, just quiet, fait accompli,
C'est bon?
and people thinking about Monday morning work, which in France means from about 12 p.m.
Henry Arundel has just come on,
C'est pas grave, on sort.
having a little word with fellow Englishman Christian Wade.
Il sort un joueur en plus.
7 tries in just 9 appearances for the England international. Looks like Sedante Gomez-Sarr is heading for the sidelines and perhaps for the treatment table.
T'entends pas, allez.
Very least he'll need a massage as Kamel Shah gets ready to come back on.
Alex, dis-leur qu'ils sortent un joueur en plus.
Well, if he's not he's not a designated prop. I mean, obviously he's a hooker, but putting someone on who's not a prop means that they also have to sacrifice another player, don't they, Russing? They have to bring another forward off because they can't furnish a full front row. It's a good bit of alliteration, wasn't it?
The 19 is the number 19, which is Antim Emery.
So depowered scrums now.
He's the back row forward.
Première en avant noire, mais les blanches. Mais les simulées, oui.
Well, Lino Julian is already on. Karashvili was the man who just went off, so he'll have to come back on again. Francis Sailly has come on. And looks as though Kamel Shah is going to line up as the tight head prop.
Yeah, but I'll be depowered, and I think that it means they've still got to have 8 on the scrum, which is why Sailly. I mean, there's no point going in there to try and bolster the scrum if it's depowered.
Well, Sailly is a centre, so I mean, there he is.
I think they're compelled to put 8 players in there because it's a depowered scrum, and that's where they get penalised by not having the.
So there we go.
Complement.
No drive forward, out the back we go. It's the last few seconds of a match that is already at its fait accompli already, and Henry Arundel gets his first touch since coming on and is flattened immediately by Lubai, who's not going to get that try after all for the first time in 2 seasons. There goes the hooter. Well, at the moment, they're in no hurry to get the ball off. Ibrahim Diallo determined to, I'm not quite sure why they want to keep playing on, to be honest with you, because there's no chance here of getting a bonus point. Lovely play by Wade, and he kicks it out.
Thank goodness.
And that will be it. Victory for Racing for the first time in 6 matches. Just the one try in the end, even though the ball went over the line 3 times, as Racing finally get back on the winning trail. It's finished Racing 20, Toulon 6. Well, Racing's first victory since early January. Who would have thought we would be saying that when you saw how well they were going earlier in the season, Andrew?
Yeah, well, the important thing, I guess, will be to have some momentum coming into the playoffs. So, you know, you can have a couple of lulls throughout the season. You probably don't want to lose 5 on the bounce, particularly a couple at home. But this is a timely W in their results column, so they'll be aware that they weren't perfect. There's a lot to work on there. Toulon really shot themselves in the foot a lot of the time with their line-outs, with their mistakes. Racing did well. They played well, particularly scoring that try early on to put the pressure on. They kept the pressure on, but still a lot of improving for both teams, really. And Toulon now starts to get a little bit desperate with the number of matches and where they're sitting on the table.
Well, the problem is for Racing is that they keep on getting knocked out in the playoffs, either in the barrage or in the semi-finals. A good thing about their season so far up until the last 5 games was that they were in the top 2, which of course negates the need to go through the barrage. So we saw what happened to Toulouse when they had to go through the barrage, beat La Rochelle and then lost to Castres in 2022. It is so much better. Castres, of course, went on to play Montpellier, who also finished in the top 2. There is no doubt the advantage there is to not having to play that barrage weekend. Nevertheless,